morning. My name's John, and I'm one of the senior engineers working in the British Merchant Navy. The British Merchant Navy is basically any type of ship that carries cargo of whatever description. In my case, I work for a passenger company, so I work on cruise ships. It can certainly be a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of hard work. A little bit of background about myself. I've been doing this a long time. I first thought about the idea when I was 12 years old, and I applied to go to a special nautical school, which I was accepted into at the age of 13. After 3 years of this special nautical school, I was then offered an apprenticeship within a cruise company called P&O. P&O stands for the Peninsula and Oriental Steam Navigation Company. P&O ran a lot of different types of ships, including many cargo ships, whether it's tankers, container ships, bulk carriers, cruise ships, ferries and the like. And I actually started work originally on the cargo side of the company, on the tankers and container ships. After 4 years, I came across to the cruise side of the company, and I've been working for the cruise side of the operation for the last 33 years. That's quite a long time. Now, being one of the senior engineers on board, my life is not mundane or the same every day. There's a lot of different things can go wrong, some of them planned, some of them not planned. And it can make life very interesting indeed. Take for instance my last trip. My last trip was actually on board a ship called the Island Princess. Now the Island Princess is by today's modern standards what we now class as a medium-sized ship. 20 years ago this would have been a monster, a huge ship. To give you an idea of the size, the Island Princess, which is not particularly large, is about 1.5 times the size of the Titanic. So it's quite a large ship. The passenger count for the Island Princess is just over 2,000. It can take about 2,200 people. Depending on the number of children, it can go up to 2,400. On most modern cruise ships, it's a fairly standard ratio within a set range. Usually for every 2 passengers there's 1 crew member on board. So if you have 2,000 passengers, you will have 1,000 crew members. Seems a lot of crew members, doesn't it? About every 3 to 5 years, all ships are required by law to go into what we call a dry dock period. This is a period where the ships are taken out of the water and the maintenance that is required for safety reasons is completed. Now with a cruise ship, it only makes money when it's carrying passengers, so this period is basically made as small a time frame as possible. But we have a lot of work to do. So these are very intensive, very long hours, and there are thousands, literally thousands of people on the ship 24 hours a day to complete the work that's necessary. Now when the ship gets to about 10 years old, it becomes necessary to upgrade the ship. So we do an extended dry dock, where we'll do a lot more and we'll change a lot of things. We've just completed one on the Island Princess, which took about 7 weeks to complete, which is a long time for a cruise ship. Well, there were 2 main phases in the dry dock besides the routine work we have to do. One of them was actually the installation of a complete new diesel engine, a main propulsion engine. The ship, when it was designed, was running gas turbines, which are highly efficient but very expensive on fuel. Modern day diesel engines are much more fuel efficient in terms of cost, but it's difficult to install one when the ship's built, but it can be done, as we've just found out. The project to install just the main engine cost the company around about £15 million. The other large part we did was they decided to increase the physical size of the ship by adding a complete new section towards the top end of the ship on all the deck levels at the back. This was in the design stage for nearly 18 months, including pre-building much of the new addition to the back end of the ship. Again, that took 6 weeks of very intensive labour to complete, and the total cost for that particular project was again about $20 million just for those two for that project. The total dry dock cost will be somewhere in the region of £35 million. But most of the crew cabins are on the lower decks of the ship. So we're talking decks 2 and 3. Deck 1 is primarily the engineering sections of the ship, where the main engines are and a lot of the facilities that we need to create for all the passengers and crew on board. So decks 2, 3 and 4 tend to be the main crew and office areas. There are crew cabins on the other decks. Typically a modern cruise ship has 17 decks or floors. We don't carry a deck 13. We carry typically Western Europeans as the majority of our passengers, and Western Europeans can be very suspicious, and 13, unlucky for some, is not a room that you want to be on a deck 13, so cruise ships simply don't have a deck 13. Depending on the job you do, most people will work a minimum 11-hour working day, that is 7 days a week, yes. The construction of the Royal Princess took just over 2 years, and there was 3 million man-hours used in its construction. We used actually 37,000 tons of steel, which is 3 times the amount of steel in the Los Angeles Disney Concert Hall. There are over 2,400 of electrical cable, miles of electrical cable used in the construction of a Beaumont cruise ship. Amount of paint. We use a lot of paint. We used 360,000 litres of paint to paint the ship. The Royal Princess has a top speed of 23 knots. A knot, for your information, that would be equivalent to 26.5 miles per hour top speed. So if you think of a car going past your window at 30 miles an hour, think of a 1,000-foot long ship whizzing past your window at the same speed. You won't be far wrong. We have 2 anchors that sit at the front of the ship, and they each weigh 14 tons each. How big is the ship? It's over 1,000 feet. It's actually 1,083 feet long, which is longer than the height of the Eiffel Tower. How tall? It's 270 feet high, which is taller than London's Tower Bridge. We have 600 pounds of butter used each day. We have 1,500 pounds of flour is used each day to create in the bakery alone. Wine, we keep a large amount of wine because the passengers like to drink and enjoy themselves, so we carry a stock on the wine cellars for 18,000 bottles. How many napkins? We have to wash 55,000 napkins a week.